Welcome to the Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and it is time to do the October tag. And I do not know how it's already October. It's one of my favorite months, solely because it's the month in which Dave and I got married. Weather's starting to cool off. So let's talk about the monthly holidays in October. First up would be the Adopt a Shelter Dog Day. Out of our current group of dogs, 2 out of 3 are shelter dogs. And of the 5 dogs we've had since we have been married, 3 out of 5 have been shelter dogs. So, safe to say that's pretty normal. I don't want it. And apparently it's going to be throw the ball day to have shelter dogs in this household. It's also National Apple Month. Apple would be one of my favorite fruits. And, apple picking in October is always nice because it's cooler. Okay, and I will tell you that there are a lot of holiday notices for the month of October, and I didn't pick any single day to talk about them. Surrounding desserts. Pumpkin pie cheesecake day, and it's National Cookie Month. It's National Dessert Month. There's just a plethora. And in that vein, while talking about national or the October holidays, I did pull 3 of my favorite cookbooks for sweets. First up would be the Great Minnesota Cookbook. And this is by Lee Sidvik Dean and Rick Nelson. And if I recall correctly, these are all recipes that were, award-winning recipes from the Star Tribune's Holiday Cookie Contest. Star Tribune is the newspaper for the Minneapolis-St. Paul region, and this was published in 2018. And I have made many a cookie out of here. As you can see, there are tabs in here for ones I've enjoyed. I highly recommend this cookbook, like orange ginger drops. These were fantastic. Orange and ginger go together very, very well. So, see if I can grab you another one really quick. Klatchkis. It's also a very Texas recipe. So the other 2 cookbooks I grabbed are both book related. This is Joanne Fluke's Lake Eden Cookbook. Both of these, this cookbook and the next one, have savory recipes as well, but the dessert recipes in these books are fantastic. And the second one is Goldie's Kitchen Cookbook by Diane Mott Davidson. And in this cookbook is the best recipe for brownies known to mankind. And Scout's Brownies can be found on page. Let me see if brownie has its own recipe. It does not. Anyway, the recipe for Scout's Brownies is in here. I absolutely love them. They are my go-to recipe for brownies each and every time I make them from scratch. So that is my celebration for desserts. It's also National Pasta Month. It's National Pet Wellness Month and Pizza Month. So food is a very big theme throughout October. Okay. And the weekly October holidays. Animal Welfare Week is October 3rd through the 9th. Mental Illness Awareness Week is the 6th through the 12th. National Friends of the Library Week is the 20th through the 26th. National Walk Your Dog is the 1st to the 7th. And last but not least, World Spacewalk Day is the 4th to the 10th of October. Okay, and that leads us to the daily celebrations. On the 1st of October, we have National Coffee Day. And I pulled a couple of books, some of which I have read and or I want to read. This one I know is sitting on my Audible account. I think I may have read it, but I am not sure about that. That is The Coffee Trader by David Liss. This is historical fiction. It's 402 pages. It was published in 2004. And I will read you the blurb. Amsterdam, 1659. On the world's first commodities exchange, fortunes are won and lost in an instant. Miguel Linzo, a sharp-witted trader in the city's close-knit Portuguese Jews, knows this only too well. Once among the city's most envied merchants, Miguel has suddenly lost everything. Now impoverished and humiliated, living in his younger brother's canal-flooded basement, Miguel must find a way to restore his wealth and reputation. Miguel enters into a partnership with a seductive Dutch woman who offers him one last chance at success. A daring plot to corner the market of an astonishing new commodity called coffee. To succeed, Miguel must risk everything he values and face a powerful enemy who will stop at nothing to see him ruined. Miguel will learn that among Amsterdam's ruthless businessmen, betrayal lurks everywhere, and even his friends hide secret agendas. I love David Liss's writing, and his history is accurate, and they're just a joy to listen to and to read. I believe I own this one. This is At the Coffee Shop of Curiosities by Heather Webb. It was published in 2024. It is 336 pages. A mysterious letter, an offer taken, and the chance to move forward. When Ava Harrison receives a letter containing an unusual job listing 1 month after the sudden death of her ex-boyfriend, she thinks she's being haunted. The listing, a job as a live-in caretaker for a peculiar old man and his cranky cat in Driftwood, Alabama, is the perfect chance to start a new life. A normal life. Ava has always been too fearful to even travel, so no one's more surprised than she is when she throws caution to the wind and drives to the distant beachside town. On the surface, Maggie May Brightwell is a bundle of energy as she runs Magpie's, Driftwood's Coffee and Curiosity Shop, where there's magic to be found in the pairing of the old with the new. But lurking under her cheerful exterior is a painful truth. Keeping busy is the best way to distract herself from the lingering loss of her mama and her worries about her aging father. No one knows better than she does that you can't pour from an empty cup, but holding on to the past is the only thing keeping the hope alive that her mama will return home one day. Ava and Maggie soon find their kindred spirits, as they're both haunted, not by spirits, but by regret. Both must learn to let go of the past and move on, because sometimes the waves of change bring you to the place where you most belong. Next up is Coffee Shop Girl by Katie Cross. This is the first book in the Coffee Shop series, and there are currently 9 books in this series. This was released in 2020, and it's a whopping 300 pages, and this is a clean romance, and I'll read you the description. Bethany, this coffee shop is going to kill me. Sure, it's my dad's dream. If he hadn't died 8 months ago, I wouldn't be here, a college dropout, trying not to drown in debt. Nor would I be standing in the muddy eyes of a Viking-sized man that's telling me everything I'm doing wrong. As if he knows so much about business in a small mountain town. Except he does. And when the biggest, most unexpected surprise of all falls in my lap, I'll have no choice but to ask for his help. Time for some power lipstick. Maverick. This girl is drowning. She might have eyes like glacier pools and hair so black it's glossy. But that doesn't mean she knows how to run a coffee shop. She's drowning in more debt, interest, and credit card payments. She'll never make it, but I kind of want her to. Because underneath that bright lipstick and those sundresses is a woman that I have an uncomfortable feeling is about to rock my world. Just kind of sounds sweet and a good palate cleanser from heavier reads. So, it's high on my list. Okay. And up next is the first book in the Romantic Escape series by Julie Kaplan. I have not read anything in this series, but I have read Kaplan before. That is The Little Cafe in Copenhagen. And it's 416 pages and was published in 2018. Is that still true? I will read you the blurb. Publicist Katie Sinclair's life in London is everything she thought she wanted. Success, glamour, and a charming boyfriend. Till that boyfriend goes behind her back and snatches a much sought-after promotion from her. Heartbroken and questioning everything, Kate needs to escape. From candles and cozy nights to romantic late-night walks to the beautiful cobbled streets of Copenhagen, Kate discovers how to live life the Danish way. Can the secrets of hygge and happiness lead her to her own? Okay, up next is the 5th of October, which is Teacher's Day. Pulled some books from my shelf for this one. First up would be the second book in the Anne of Green Gables series. That is Anne of Avonlea. And Anne is the teacher in this series, and she is a whopping 15 years old. Imagine how much life has changed in the last, 120 years, that a 15-year-old 120 years ago was capable and responsible enough to teach other students to today. I don't need to say anymore. I also don't need to read the back of this. Most of you have read this or know of the series. Okay. And also for National Teachers Day is... I don't own a copy of this, but again, most of us have read this, is These Happy Golden Years, which is the 8th book in the Little House on the Prairie series by Laura Ingalls Wilder. And again, it's another 15-year-old Laura teaching school. Sorry, there's a very large insect to my right making all kinds of noise. It's probably a beetle or carpenter bee. Okay, here's one I don't own, but it is very short. It's a novella. It's not going to be up my it's not going to be for me. It's just too short. It's 78 pages. This is The Teacher's Montana Match, a mail-order bride frontier historical romance. It's 78 pages. It's going to be insta-love, but I'll read you the back. When Boston school teacher Clara Whitmore accepts a position as a mail-order bride in Montana Territory, she expects to find a schoolhouse waiting. Instead, she finds widower Sam Mitchell, his 2 grieving children, and a town resistant to change. Fleeing an unwanted engagement back east, Claire is determined to make this new life work, even if it means teaching children in her parlor and proving herself to a man whose heart is still frozen in grief. Sam Mitchell needs a mother for his children and a teacher for the growing town, but he never expected both to arrive in one determined package. As Clara brings life back to his home and hope to his children, Sam finds himself drawn to her innovative spirit. But when drought threatens the ranch and Clara's past catches up with her, they must face the storms together, both in nature and in their hearts. If you like short stories, this one sounds good. It is one I will be passing on because I know it is not for me. Okay, I have a couple of choices from my bookshelf. This would be A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. We all know this is one of my favorite books of all time. It's classic. Sitters on 12-Year-Old Franny. This is the book in which, not Franny, Francie. This is the book which taught me to love historical fiction. I cannot recommend this book enough. I cannot. It's everything. Okay, and also from my shelf, this was part of my birthday book haul from Better World Books. That is The Rosie Project by Graham Simpson. And I know I've talked about this in another one of these videos, but I'll read you the inside flap. The art of love is never a science. Meet Don Tillman, a brilliant yet socially challenged professor of genetics, who's decided it's time he found a wife. And so in the orderly, evidence-based manner in which Don approaches all things, he designs the Wife Project to find his perfect partner. A 16-page, scientifically valid survey to filter out the drinkers, the smokers, and the late arrivals. Rosie Jarman is all of these things. She's also strangely beguiling, fiery, and intelligent. And while Don quickly disqualifies her as a candidate for the Wife Project, as a DNA expert, Don is particularly suited to help Rosie find on her own quest, identifying her biological father. When an unlikely relationship develops as they collaborate on the Father Project, Dawn is forced to confront the spontaneous whirlwind that is Rosie, and the realization that despite your best scientific efforts, you don't find love, it finds you. I love awkward professor stories. I just have to admit, I love me a good awkward professor story, so I am looking forward to that. Okay, and I have read this. I am picking this up on Kindle to someday reread it. It's that good. This is An Instance of the Finger Post by Ian Pears. It was first published in 1997. It is 704 pages. It is historical fiction. It is a masterpiece of historical fiction. England in the 1660s. Charles II has been restored to the throne following years of civil war and Cromwell's short-lived republic. Oxford is the intellectual seat of the country, a place of great scientific, religious, and political ferment. A fellow of New College is found dead in suspicious circumstances. A young woman is accused of his murder. We hear the story of the death from 4 witnesses. An Italian physician intent on claiming credit for the invention of blood transfusion, the son of an alleged royalist traitor, a master cryptographer who has worked for both Cromwell and the king, and a renowned Oxford antiquarian. Each tells his own version of what happened. Only one reveals the extraordinary truth. This book, y'all, is amazing. I cannot recommend it enough. It's just impossible. I believe I own this on Kindle. This is The Summer Before the War by Helen Simonson. East Essex, 1914. It is the end of England's brief Edwardian summer, and everyone agrees the weather has never been so beautiful. Hugh Grange, down from his medical studies, is visiting his Aunt Agatha, who lives with her husband in a small, idyllic coastal town of Rye. Agatha's husband works in the Foreign Office, and she is certain he will ensure that a recent saber rattling over the Balkans won't come to anything. And Agatha has more immediate concerns. She has just risked her carefully built reputation by pushing for the appointment of a woman to replace the Latin master. When Beatrice Nash arrives with one trunk and several large crates of books, it is clear she is significantly more free-thinking and attractive than anyone believes a Latin teacher should be. For her part, mourning the death of her beloved father, who has left her penniless, Beatrice simply wants to be left alone to pursue her teaching and writing. But just as Beatrice comes alive to the beauty of the Sussex landscape and the colorful characters who populate Rye, the perfect summer is about to end, for despite Agatha's reassurances, the unimaginable is coming. Soon the limits of progress and the old ways will be tested as this small Sussex town and inhabitants go to war. Yeah. Again, it's another one of those I need to read. Next up is the 12th of October, which is I Love Yarn Day. And I made a very conscious decision to pick books related to fiction, related to yarn versus needlework, which is what I do. There are some very happy chickens in my yard. So, I want to read every single one of these, which should not be surprising. So first up would be Last Will and Testament by Molly McRae. This is the first book in the Haunted Yarn mystery series. It's 346 pages. Unsurprisingly, these are all going to be cozies. In this mystery of the Haunted Yarn shop series, Kath Rutledge is about to learn the true meaning of TGIF. Thank goodness it's fiber. That's the name of the spunky group of fiber and needlework artists founded by Ivy McClellan, Kath's beloved grandmother. Though Ivy has recently passed on, the members still meet regularly at her fiber and fabric shop, the Weaver's Cat, which Kath has now inherited. But that's only the first in a series of surprises when Kath returns to the small town of Blue Plum, Tennessee, to settle her grandmother's affairs. There's been a murder, and it turns out her grandmother was the prime suspect. Before she can begin to clear Ivy's name, Kath encounters a looming presence in the form of a gloomy ghost. Turns out that the specter has just as much interest in solving the murder as Kath. So, with a little help from the members of TGIF and a stubborn spirit from beyond, she sets out to unravel the clues and hook the real-life killer. Yep, I need to read that. Next up, I have read this one. This is Murder, She Knit by Peggy Earhart. This is the first book in the Knit and Nibble series. It is 289 pages, and first one was published in 2018. There are currently 12 books in the series. Pamela is hosting the next Knit and Nibble meeting and can't wait to liven up her otherwise empty home with colorful yarn, baking, and a little harmless gossip. She even recruits Amy Morgan, an old friend who recently moved to town, as the group's newest member. But on the night of the gathering, Amy doesn't show. Not until Pamela finds the woman dead outside. A knitting needle stabbed through the front of her handmade sweater. Someone committed the murder before taking off with Amy's knitting bag, and Pamela realizes that only she can spot the deadly details hidden in the mysterious skeins. But when another murder occurs, naming the culprit and living to spin the tale will be more difficult than Pamela ever imagined. I thoroughly enjoyed this one, and I have every intent of continuing the series. Okay, next up would be the Sweet Gum Knit Lit Society by Beth Patillo. I have never heard of this author, so sorry. When all my dogs go running to the fence, it's usually something I need to be aware of. It was a squirrel. This one is 352 pages and was published in 2008. Sometimes life has to unravel before you can knit it together. On the third Friday of each month, Eugenie, Ruth, Esther, Mary, and Camille meet at the Sweet Gum Christian Church to enjoy two things that connect them: a love of knitting and a passion for books. Their camaraderie remains unthreatened until Eugenie, the town librarian, introduces an angry teenager into their midst. Eugenie also gives them a new reading list: the classic novels of girlhood that young Hannah has never read. Little Women, Pollyanna, Heidi. Books that remind the women of the hopes and dreams they have lost along the way. With each click of their needles, the ladies of the Knit Lit Society unravel their secrets. A shadow from Eugenie's past haunts the controlled order of her life. Mary's perfect little family is growing again, but will she continue to feel her identity slip away? Camille dreams of leaving town, but is bound by ties of love. And sisters, Ruth and Esther, must confront the lie they have lived with for over 30 years. As Hannah is reluctantly stitched into their lives, the women discover the possibility that even in sleepy Sweet Gum, Tennessee, they can still be the heroines of their own stories. Okay, and next up, I have read this one. This is Hooked on Murder by Betty Heckman. This is the first in the Crocheted Mystery series. I have loved each and every one of them, and this blurb is really short. Crocheting has become Molly Pink's relaxing escape from her hectic life as a bookstore event manager and the stress of being Tarzana, California's latest murder suspect. For Molly, the weekly crochet group at Shed and Royal Books and more was just another event to manage. Then she stumbled across the body of group leader Ellen Sheridan. Her complicated past with Ellen has made her a prime suspect, and after being cuffed and questioned, she could use a little diversion. Never mind that she doesn't know how to crochet. Granny squares don't look that hard to make. But while Molly's fending off a detective with a grudge and navigating crochet group politics, the real killer is at large, and it's up to Molly to catch the culprit before she winds up in a tight knot. There are recipes in this book. There's a crochet pattern included. And if I remember correctly, and I'm like 99.999% correct that I am, the group of stitchers calls themselves the hookers. Because, crochet hooks. I found it adorable. That's me. Next up would be the 14th of October, which is National Dessert Day. I did pick a couple of fiction books for this. I tried not to duplicate any that I had previously mentioned in other books. I could probably do just an entire, hour plus long video on dessert fiction, but today is not that video. So, first book choice would be Luck, Love, and Lemon Pie by Amy E. Reichart. This is 320 pages and was published in 2016. From the author of The Coincidence of Coconut Cake comes a novel about a frustrated wife and a mother who hatches a scheme to reignite her marriage and risks everything in a gamble she hopes is a sure bet. When Milwaukee area wife and mother MJ Bordeaux notices her husband Chris seems more interested in the casino than her, she's bothered that she isn't more upset. She picks up poker as a way for them to spend more time together and reignite their marital flame. Although the game doesn't give her any quality time with Chris that she hoped, MJ finds she has a knack for it. Increasingly unhappy at home, she turns to the felt top of the poker table for comfort. Intoxicated with newfound freedom, MJ begins spending more time at the gambling tables and less with her family, finally carving out for herself a place outside of her role of wife and mother. After a string of great wins, MJ finds herself in Vegas, attracting the attention of a certain magnetic poker star. But when she's forced to choose between her family and her exciting new lifestyle, the stakes may be higher than she thought. She'll have to play her hand carefully or risk losing it all. Next up would be Lemon Tart, a culinary mystery by Josie Kilpack. And this, I believe, is probably Christian fiction. I know Josie Kilpack writes Christian fiction. Okay, in this debut volume, cooking aficionado turned amateur detective Sadie Hoffmiller tries to solve the murder of her beautiful young neighbor, a single mother who was mysteriously lured from her home while lemon tart was baking in her oven. At the heart of Sadie's search is a missing 2-year-old child. Whoever took the child must be the murderer, but Sadie is certain that the police are looking at all the wrong suspects, including her. There are recipes included. It's a cozy mystery. It's 361 pages, and it was published in 2009. And I love a good lemon tart, so yeah. I am looking forward to this. The Truth About Twinkie Pie by Kate Yu. This is 368 pages. It was published in 2017, and it's a middle grade novel. And the reason it's on this list is because, while I don't eat them often, my favorite go-to lunchbox treat when I was growing up was a Twinkie. So, in this quirky, heartwarming coming-of-age novel, 2 sisters have their lives changed after winning a national cooking contest that takes them to a new town filled with new adventures and challenges. Take 2 sisters making it on their own. Brainy 12-year-old Gigi, a junior high dropout turned hairstylist Dee Dee. At $1 million in prize money from a national cooking contest, and a move from the trailer parks of South Carolina to the North Shore of Long Island. Mix in a fancy new school, a first crush, new friends, and enemies, and a generous sprinkling of family secrets. That's the recipe for Truth About Twinkie Pie, a voice-driven middle-grade debut with the true meaning of family and friendship. Again, it just sounds delightful. And the 16th of October is Parents' Day. And first off, because I have it out here, I'm just going to show it twice. The entire Anne of Green Gables series is filled with parents and parenting and wonderful examples of, that from a variety of characters in the series. Cannot recommend it enough. Okay. And then we have Beach Music by Pat Conroy. I own this. Pretty sure I have a hard copy upstairs, but I also own it on Kindle. It's 800 pages. It was published in 1995, and I will read you the blurb. A Southerner living abroad, Jack McCall is scarred by tragedy and betrayal. His desperate desire to find peace after his wife's suicide draws him into a painful, intimate search for the one haunting secret in his family's past that can heal his anguished heart. Spanning 3 generations and 2 continents, from the contemporary ruins of the American South to the ancient ruins of Rome, from the unutterable horrors of the Holocaust to the lingering trauma of Vietnam, Beach Music sings life's pain and glory. It's a novel of lyrical intensity and searing truth. Another masterpiece among Pat Conroy's legendary and beloved novels. I cannot wait to dive in. I cannot wait to dive in. Also, from my Better World haul would be Ordinary Grace by William Kent Kruger. This is historical fiction. It is not related to the Cork O'Connor series, although it is set in Minnesota. I will read you the back. New Bremen, Minnesota, 1961. The Twins were playing their debut season. Ice cold root beers were selling out at the soda counter of Halderson's drugstore, and hot stuff comic books were a mainstay on every barbershop magazine rack. It was a time of innocence and hope for a country with a new, young president. But for 13-year-old Frank Drum, a preacher's son, it was a grim summer in which death visited frequently and assumed many forms: accident, nature, suicide, murder. Told from Frank's perspective 40 years later, Ordinary Grace is a brilliantly moving account of a boy standing at the door of his young manhood, trying to understand a world that seems to be falling apart around him. It is an unforgettable novel about discovering the terrible price of wisdom and the enduring grace of God. I love William Kent Kruger, as viewers of this channel will know, so I am deeply looking forward to that. Another great example of parents in fiction is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. This was a birthday gift, as you know. Alex Finch is the father in this book. I don't need to talk about it in great detail. I cannot wait to reread this one. He's just an extraordinary father. So, okay. Next up would be the 28th of October. That is National Chocolate Day, a day I fully intend on celebrating. I love me some very good chocolate. Hello, Wheezy. Okay, so first up is Death is Like a Box of Chocolates by Kathy Aarons. This is the first in the chocolate-covered mystery series. This is 304 pages. It was published in 2014, and as you might guess, it's a cozy mystery. Whether it is to satisfy a craving for chocolate or pick up the hottest new bestseller, the locals in charming West Riverdale, Maryland, are heading to Chocolates and Chapters, where everything sold is to die for. Best friends Melanie Serrano and Erica Russell are celebrating the sweet rewards of their combined bookstore and chocolate shop by hosting the Great Fudge Cook-Off during the town's Memorial Day Weekend Arts Festival. But success turns bittersweet when Main Street's portrait photographer is found dead in their store, poisoned by Michelle's signature truffles. As suspicion mounts against Michelle, her sales begin to crumble, and her career seems whipped. The future of their dream store melts away. Yes, please. Okay. Up next is, I believe I own this. This is The Chocolate Lovers Club by Carol Matthews. It is 352 pages, and it was published in 2007, and it is the first in a series. The Chocolate Lovers Club, I said it was by Carol Matthews. The Chocolate Lovers Club brings together 4 very different women with one thing they cannot resist: chocolate. This is an irresistible novel for anyone who wishes they were a member. Lucy Lombard can't resist it. Rich, creamy, delicious chocolate. For her, there's nothing it won't cure. From heartache to a headache. And she's not alone. Sharing her passion are 3 other: Autumn, Nadia, and Chantal. Together they form the Chocolate Lovers Club. They meet in their sanctuary, Chocolate Heaven, as often as they can, and with a cheating boyfriend who promises he'll change, a flirtatious boss, a gambling husband, and a loveless marriage, there's always plenty to discuss. I need to know. Okay. I may own this on my Kindle. This is The Chocolate Maker's Wife by Karen Brooks. It is 608 pages. It was published in 2019. Okay. Damnation has never been so sweet. Growing up in an impoverished household with a brutal family, Rosamund Tompkins is both relieved and terrified when her parents all but sell her in a marriage of convenience to a wealthy nobleman, Sir Everard Blithman. Though Rosamund will finally be free of the torment she'd become accustomed to in her childhood home, she doesn't know if she's traded one evil for another. But much to her surprise, Rosamund soon discovers that her arranged marriage is more of a blessing than a curse. For her new husband recognizes not only Rosamund's unusual beauty, but also her charm and vibrancy, which seem to enchant almost everyone who crosses her path. Sir Everard presided over a luxurious London chocolate house where wealthy and well-connected men go to be seen, exchange news, and indulge in the sweet and heady drink to which they have become addicted. It is the life of luxury and power that Rosamund has never imagined for herself. She thrives in it, quickly becoming the most talked about woman in society, desired and respected in equal measure. But when disaster strikes, Rosamund stands on the brink of losing all she possesses. Determined not to return to poverty, Rosamund makes a deal with the devil that could preserve her place in society or bring her to her greatest downfall. Set against the decadent, chaotic background of Restoration London, the plague, and the Great Fire, The Chocolate Maker's Wife is a tale of revenge and redemption, love and hope, and the sweet, sinister temptation of chocolate. I need to know. Okay, up next is Better Than Chocolate by Sheila Roberts. This is the first book in the Life in Icicle Falls series. It is 372 pages and was published in 2012. Sweet Dreams Chocolate Company has been in the Sterling family for generations, ever since Great-Grandma Rose literally dreamed up her first fabulous recipe. But now it looks as if they're about to lose Sweet Dreams to the bank. And that would be a disaster, not only for the family, but for the town of Icicle Falls, Washington. Can Samantha, the oldest daughter and new head of the company, come up with a way to save it? After Samantha does some brainstorming with her mother and sisters, inspiration strikes. They'll have a chocolate festival. Time's running out. But the Sterling women are determined and the town's behind them, so everything's bound to go smoothly. Or not. Events seem to be conspiring against Samantha. Did you have a nice dust bath, baby? Yeah? Your feathers are starting to come back in. You look better. Or not. Events seem to be conspiring against Samantha, and her mother's attempts to help aren't helping. To make matters worse, the fate of her company is in the hands of her arch enemy, Blake Preston, the bank manager with the football hero good looks. It's enough to drive her to chocolate, but Blake's also enough to convince her that, believe it or not, there's something even better than chocolate. Okay, this is a series I have read. This is Death by Chocolate Cherry Cheesecake by Sarah Graves. This is the first book in the Death by Chocolate mystery series. It is related to her Home Repairs Homicide series, but you don't have to have read the other series to enjoy this series. So it is 299 pages, and the first one came out in 2018. I will read you the blurb. Life just got a little sweeter on the island fishing village of Eastport, Maine. Jacoba, Jake, Tripchi, and her best friend Ellie are opening a waterfront bake shop, the Chocolate Moose, where their tasty treats pair perfectly with the salty ocean breeze. But while Jake has moved on from fixing up houses, she still can't resist the urge to snoop into the occasional murder. Jake and Ellie have been through a lot together, from home repair to homicide investigations. So when they decide to open a chocolate-themed bakery, they figure it'll be a piece of cake. With Ellie's old family recipes luring in customers, they expect to make plenty of dough this 4th of July weekend. Having a family home for the holiday only sweetens the deal for Jake, until the ill wind of an early season hurricane blows up her plans. When the storm hits, Jake's grown son Sam is stranded in a Boston bus station, and her husband Wade is stuck on a cargo ship. But as bitter as the storm is, something even more sinister is brewing in the kitchen of the Chocolate Moose, where Health Inspector Matt Muldoon is found murdered. Ellie never made a secret of her distaste for Matt, who had been raining on the parade with bogus talk of health code violations. Now, with no alibi from the night of the murder, she's in a sticky situation with the police. And it's up to Jake to catch the real killer and keep Ellie in the land of the free. I loved this book. So, you notice I'm not covering Halloween. As of this filming, I am planning to do an entire separate video for Halloween book recommendations. And hopefully that happens. Have you read any of these? Any of these intrigue you? Let me know in the comments down below. Like and subscribe. And I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.